when Ari suggested maybe a conversation, I thought about the two of you spontaneously because you both are working with people. Yeah. And
Fortunately.
yeah.
I wish that
And
childhood
you're
fantasy of being a marine biologist had come true, but I still would have been working with people.
yeah. Yeah, and of course you attended the workshop and you had strong responses, and there were a few moments when I also felt where you expressed it, or some things you experienced differently, or things that resonated with you. So I thought we could have a living conversation, not so much like you know starting from your own personal experience, or how you even feel like that can be integrated in life, or what touched you, and what kind of questions are arising from that. Yeah. So yeah, just.
So I can start with something that we'll see where that leads. But I remember when I first started studying the particular lineage of somatics that I've been in now since 2009, feeling that it was very much almost like a basic alphabet of experience of being human, of path to transformation. I mean, there's a lot of fancying it up and making it more than that, but at some fundamental level, connecting to sensation, the body, emotion, very basic. And my experience of the workshop was even dropping a layer below that, almost to maybe this is a metaphor, but not entirely, the aspirants and glottal stops, the actual making of language. So if we have an alphabet, then there's actually what are we doing physiologically to make word. Anyway, but and there's something so exciting and useful about that sense of a fundamental experience. I'm curious. I mean, Senolo, is that at all resonate with you? And is this useful as a line to explore, perhaps?
Yes. There was a moment after one of the practices we were in that you and I were partners in, Alta, with the holding the skull. And there was just a whole kind of arc, right, that happened around that, with it's kind of like diving. Alta knows I love scuba diving, and like as you go to different depths, everything changes, like the water pressure changes, your breathing changes, and it was like that. We were going deeper and deeper. And for me, there was I don't remember the specifics now, but the felt memory is there was a lot of tremor and kind of moving through all of that, and then there was kind of like a gate that I passed through, that on the other side there's all this tingling, streaming, delicious. And I remember your experience in that too, that I felt, where I was just like, oh, it just feels like we're savoring this delicious quality. And so when you say that that fundamental, we use this language of aliveness. Just being able to touch aliveness, or that's not even exactly it, to feel ourselves as aliveness. So when you say the piece about language, it feels like all language and expression kind of comes out of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
And there's a communication that's different when it's like that kind of aliveness meeting another expression of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
That kind of communication
Ooh.
has form, but it's really the like pulsing stuff that's doing the
Yeah.
communicating, not the form.
What do they call it? Prima materia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also then there is a connection, there's a relationship, there is a meeting in that where
Yes.
it has its own language that is verbal, right? That's not as
Yeah.
articulate as we are right now, but that is very primal and fundamental. And I experience it over and over again as fundamentally healing in that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's
Mm-hmm.
it also touches into those layers of us before we even had words
Yes.
to
Yes.
s- to verbalize what we feel, but we feel it nevertheless, or we feel it even deeper.
Mm.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, and in the practice that you're referencing, Lola, I mean, that sense certainly when I was in the latter part of the arc, you know, it was all those things you said, the juicy, delicious, wonderful, but you know, this is a catchphrase, and I think it is real, the bliss of being. I mean, that
Yeah.
it's just sort of, I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
And life, it's not even an I'm, you know, it's
Mm-hmm.
livingness, beingness, and a little bit, yeah, the I of it drops away because it's just something to sink into. And the different expressions of that may be more contracted or contorted or have pain are also expressions of this foundational thing.
Yeah. 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 Because yeah. Mm, mm.
And how delicious to meet others there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Yeah.
And to let everything else kind of emerge from that place that we can also then drop back into as we weave our words and plans and get caught up in our feelings and then I don't know, it just feels like, what do they call it, the substrata of existence that's underneath everything else.
Oh. Uh-huh. 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 Yeah. Or we kind of touch into a fundamental aliveness that it's like in you know, not always, you know, doesn't happen with every exercise or every session, but it tips into it. Yeah. More.
So
Yeah.
this brings me to a question for you, Lydia. I mean, that what you just said, it doesn't happen in every session. And I am thinking and experiencing that the more we familiarize ourselves with it, the more it's present
Yes.
in
Yeah.
session or out. It's like that the fruit of the work is access to that. So I don't know, is that
Yes, yes, that's fundamentally where the work wants to go, and of course, you know, if somebody comes for the first time and they might have never done anything with their body or their breath or so, you know, it might take a little longer to come to a place that you experienced in the group where already a lot of support was there and you've already done a lot of work prior to the workshop in your own lineage, so to speak, right? So there was a great openness in you already, and yet you also felt, oh, something
oh yeah.
new to discover, right? A new dimension. And sometimes when somebody comes the first time for an individual session, you know, it might take a little time, but the often in every session there is at least like one or two toes
Mm.
into that layer at the end. And for people who've never experienced that, that's huge, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen so much in a mechanical way, but in a human being seen.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah, um, yeah, yeah. And that's also a reason, that we engage also in the breathing to bring also more energy into
Yeah.
the system,
Mm-hmm.
and then it can start to move a little more,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
or feel where it can move, and that then is often also an expression of pain or
Mm-hmm.
hurt, or
Yeah.
might then find its way in all kind of emotional expressions. And when it quiets down at the end, so what you are described, it's a wave, it's an arc.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Basically is a form of the work, that something finds an expression, and then it you usually at the end of a session there is a deeper quietness, or a quietness that is alive, but it's on a higher energy level than when we started.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It might
Yeah.
have been a kind of a shutdown energy
Yes.
here, and something expressed in emotional ways, or sometimes also very gently, and then something is more
Mm-hmm.
energized, what you also expressed as streaming or as
Mm-hmm.
pulsation,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
actually
Mm-hmm.
linked to words that I think really fundamentally go back to Wilhelm Reich.
Mm-hmm.
He
Mm-hmm.
really was the first in the West to create those words for those sensations
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that are now very,
Yeah.
very I think mainstream. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
It feels what's coming for me is like one of the themes in terms of emotional experience and expression that really came for me during the workshop was
mhm.
terror.
Yeah.
And it was rather surprising to me. I wasn't like, oh yeah, this is what's gonna be here.
Yeah.
Um and uh it there's a few facets or dimensions of that experience to me. One is when you're saying that human to human, Alta was talking about the aliveness to aliveness.
Yeah.
It's like the experience for me was being, so this door opened of like, okay, I could allow this experience to
Uh-huh.
come.
Yeah.
And in that container, um, I I wasn't thinking this consciously, but in that container, I was like, well, it's here. I
Mm-hmm.
am down. I'm
Mm-hmm.
willing. And
Mhm.
part of the story that I have now is uh, there just hadn't been context previously where my system was like, let's explore and be with the experience of terror. And that group, that container, those practices really
Mhm.
provided an invitation
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
then my experience of being terrified got to be in relationship.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yep.
Um and it felt uh really like this powerful you said healing, Lydia. For me it was like getting to experience terror and to have agency about how to navigate
Yeah.
it and to have connection, right? Like there's a moment
Yeah.
where folks came towards me. I got to tell people, no, don't come any closer towards me. I got to decide who comes closer, who moves
Yeah.
away. And there's something about integrating the experience of terror in that way.
Mhm.
Um, and then for me, in a lot of ways, it was like that terror came non-separate from the streaming, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I can't say that I was like so much fun, you know, like
It's not.
but in a way, when I was
Mm-hmm.
in it,
Mm-hmm.
I think this is related to having previous practice, but I think it's also related to relationship container being met.
Mm-hmm.
There's enough space around it where the terror felt like an expression of that aliveness, you
Yes.
know, a different form,
Yes.
but it wasn't a
Yes.
bad thing to be fixed or
Yeah.
something like that. It was one of the forms that it takes, and
Mm-hmm.
that felt like a gift in the experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And often it's also a kind of a voice that wanted to come for a long time and had no voice, and then being heard in that and seen and not left alone,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know, and you know, with awe and having the agency, you know, to call for what you need and being met, you know, and respected in that. That's that is also where it's not just going back into something old,
Mm-hmm.
but in some way it almost is something that might have been helpful then but couldn't happen, but now it can, and it can happen in a different context and not in the same situation. And I think it gives you also, and I'm speaking from my experience, and that it gives me um um an agency for myself.
Mm-hmm.
What you said, that terror, that anger or something is a form of an expression of aliveness,
Yes.
you
Mm-hmm.
know, in
Yeah.
and doesn't need to be, or it loses this stronghold of fear, and it's
Mm-hmm.
foreboding, and
Mm-hmm.
it's sad, and it's
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In my experience of one of the pieces, I mean, I went deep into anger. It was certainly at first sparked in a sense responding to someone else's anger. But then it's just like, ooh, this is so in my body. And attached to that, the sense of isolation, loneliness, hurt, you know, all that whole ball of wax. But the difference, because that it wasn't unfamiliar. It's not something that I've not worked before, but one, the being with another. And in that case, in a particular, I mean, the nuance of uh, the magnitude of the impact of your own aliveness and presence, Lydia. I just want to acknowledge that there's the eye to eye contact and presence. It's like I'm meeting, and I'm not having to go away or hide or diminish this energy. I'm in
yeah.
it and being met, and then connecting. Senolo, then you had joined me, but the sense of it, of how it moves through the body in a way that is welcome.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean it's fun, but it's
Yeah.
welcome.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
I was going to ask this as a question. Am I the space it's moving through?
Right.
Am I the energy that is moving through? But in other words, I am not just that. So there's
Yeah.
that whole kind of the sense of the permission to fully experience it without overwhelm, with connection, with being met, with agency that then allows it to be energy, you know,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
energy. Just
Mm-hmm.
and it while not fun. I want to keep emphasizing that. I'm not trying to romanticize this. I mean, rage is not fun. Feeling, abandoned, disconnected, not fun, but so alive and so empowering. It almost is like bowing into and honoring those expressions of life expands my capacity for life and presence.
Yeah. I mean, I do want to say I experienced my rage as fun. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that.
But yeah, like not all of them were pleasant.
Right.
And sometimes the intensity and the tone was not a like smiling ear to ear kind of thing.
No.
But
But
I want to pick up on something else you said, Alta, because and about Lydia's presence that I think was specific to you, Lydia, but I also have a sense from things that you shared with us that it's related to the Skan approach that I experience is very different than the body work that we've done, Alta, and the Strozzi lineage. And if I were to put an image on it, I have a sense of the body worker in the Strozzi tradition. You know, everybody has their own flavor, but within it, they're almost like a lightning rod or a grounding rod. Like there's a sense of like things can move through them. They are fundamentally present. Like when I've received body work, I have this sense of like what a grounded, open, available, kind presence. And it felt distinct to me then, mostly with you, Lydia, but also with other folks in that space. It was more like Lydia was being the lightning with me than being the lightning rod. And that did something different. Sometimes we talk about in generative somatics, like getting in the boat with the person. And it's not just I'm going to support this person having the experience, but like we are actually having this experience. And I want to be careful about not dissociating what was particular for me inside of it. But there's also an interesting transpersonal, when you were saying the energy question. I had a rage thing, I had a terror thing, I had a delight thing. And they all have relationships to things that have been part of my life history. That feels meaningful. And it was delightful that I was like, had I not had those specific experiences, these qualities of experience would still be moving in and through me. And there was something really wonderful about not knowing what story it was that was related to whatever somebody was experiencing, but knowing it so truly and really. And when you were saying, Alta, like, I'm the space, it was like, well, maybe these energies, maybe these qualities aren't mine. You know, like
That's
maybe
right.
they're this thing that we share together that moves through us, and that when it's moving, it's generative, it's healthy, it's connecting, even when it's sorrowful, or, you know, seeing some of the body movements that would happen and feeling that, and yet feeling so good about being able to be connected and to collectively hold it. So there was something really powerful about that to me, that felt different than I think a lot of individual therapeutic methodologies that are very focused on what happened to you, where are you now, what could you be doing? And there's something really good about human beings need to hold these energies and qualities together. And when we do, no matter what they are, it brings beauty and depth and intimacy and a
Mm-hmm.
sense of the beauty of being alive. I'll keep going if I don't stop.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure you have things, Lydia. I'm going to try to be quick because I really want to hear your response to that. But yes, Senolo.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think about in the materials that you had shared, Lydia, at some point there's a quote or something to the effect of the practitioner's aliveness invites the aliveness. In that sense of, I don't know, as you were speaking, Lola, I thought about diving, which I don't do, but I've heard you describe and
Yeah.
others.
Yeah.
And it's almost as if dropping into the collective aliveness is a
Yeah.
dive, or we go into different water together. And
yeah.
actually, the only way to fully welcome, embrace, and open to these energies, which are the energies of human experience, the 10,000 joys and sorrows, right? Is in the collective body, in that shared, it makes so much more possible for healing, connection, and shared creativity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your turn, Lydia.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just also so moved by what you're sharing and what you experience, and it's a kind of an honor to be part of that.
Mm.
And um and yes, Skan really works in that energetic connection, in and even if the person that comes for maybe for the first time for a session, for an individual session or into a group, might feel like, oh God,
Mm-hmm.
what's going on here, right? And feels shy and withdrawn, to also respect that and find ways to meet the person there, and also knowing we have way more in common than separates us,
Yes.
to move out of that space of separation, and also to can I say that, yes, when I'm leading a group, I hold the space. Yes, but I'm not separate
Mm-hmm.
from
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the expert, that has all the answers. A lot of answers are arising because they arise within a person,
Yeah.
and to trust that fundamental aliveness in each and one of us, how much hidden it might be, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and
Yeah.
and and
Yeah.
and to and that's really what I feel that's a great gift I received in my training, and from
Mm.
my in that sense, that it was also not, you can never copy me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You need to work from your own aliveness, but in the training, and then also going through the different steps,
Mm-hmm.
um, getting more acquainted with strong emotions and the energy that comes with it, then that becomes more alive, and and
Mm-hmm.
and and,
Mm-hmm.
and start to trust
Mm-hmm.
that I have, often I have a concept, sometimes, oh, I could do these and these exercises, or maybe that would be good, and then I'm in the group and no.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, because all of a sudden there is this living body of
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
people that form an energy field,
Yes.
and we're with each other, and it calls for something else. And then to trust that,
Yeah.
um, that was a big step for me, not to constantly doubt what, um, and it's a lifelong
Mm-hmm.
calling in a way,
Yeah.
yeah, it's,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah, and it just felt a great resonance in the group with that,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and then willingness to go
Mm-hmm.
with that, and in that sense, it's like we now know there's no empty space, right? That, you know, energy moves and we are in that, in that field. And I remember when I did my first workshop, and that then motivated me to start the training. I had a session in the group, and I was so convinced nothing would happen, because through most of the, it was a weekend workshop through almost 2 days. Yeah, I participated in things, but I was also really like, what's going on here? What's this? What's that?
Uh-huh.
You know, I was, you know, and part of me was like, I'm 100% sure nothing's going to happen if I'm going to breathe. And within a few minutes, I was kicking and screaming and raging. I had no clue what it was, but it was obviously coming out of my body. And it felt so liberating. You know, it was intense, but it felt so liberating. And it felt like, even if my mind doesn't know, there was no story with it at that point. You know, sometimes there are stories, but it was like, it was something where I felt like I could have never shown that. You know, I would have been shamed or whatnot, but there it just like flooded out of me. And at the end, I felt so alive. And I was like, that feeling of aliveness, I was like, I want more of that.
Yes.
I want more of that. And that's all it took to feel like I want to do that training, not thinking I would ever work with it, but I wanted that. I wanted more of that. That was the attraction. And
I guess I want more of that, and I have been on that path for a minute, but I also want more of that with others who want more of that. And
yeah,
that because we have more of that, we're being differently, right? You know, I think that the distinction you were surfacing, Lola, about the distinction between the individual transformative path, which is included here, but the bigger collective transformation piece, and what it actually means to sustain connection to an expression of an experience of that profound aliveness. Because in part, most of what most of us live in is not necessarily encouraging and reinforcing that. So it's like, how do you keep, returning and nourishing and re-expressing? And there was one thing you said, Lydia, that I had also wanted to pick up on about, I think what I was hearing in part of what you were saying is that there's a fundamental aliveness that is shared. It is what it is to be alive. And then there's the fractal of our individual experience that flavors how it's expressed. And it's part of what we want to get really familiar with. It's like both the fundamental and then the fractal, and then what it means to express and that fundamental through our particular facet of the prism, right? Because they'll be different, and that's part of the delight of doing it together. Anyway,
Oh, yeah, yeah. And then, you know, there was also that experience in a group, and it happens really almost in every group. Is like somebody goes through something, you know, like, and that resonates with another person, and all of a sudden, that person can feel like they can also let go of something where, it wouldn't have happened otherwise. But there magically we support each other, even and in our expression of terror or rage or deep heartbreaking sadness, you know, or exuberant aliveness. But you know, and it touches often in things that sort of were suppressed, you know. often in younger phases of our life.
And are currently discouraged in our adult lives, in our social arrangements.
Yeah.
And what would it mean? What would it mean to actually feel with the people around us, the people down the street, the things we see, it's something about that dance that feels like part of the gift here.
Yeah.
It's both. So it's both to welcome and move through, my own particular experience, whatever. But it's for the sake of right here, right now, in this present reality.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's some. Oh, go ahead, Lydia.
No, go ahead, Senolo. I want to hear it.
Okay. Uh, yeah. So I'm feeling some threads connecting with pieces that show up in evolving ground space that I want to tie in. One, just thinking about what you were sharing, Alta, our social circumstances, and a thing that I've been in reflection about is related to kind of developmental stages, the where we're at culturally, and I really think this piece of how do we metabolize collectively this whole arc of human history, or like industrialization, mass level coordination in groups. Like one story that I have about this is just like, most of our evolution was spent in pretty small groups of people.
Yeah.
And when we were around one another, kind of working with this energy, I really felt that. I was like, this is real, like traveling band, small group, like the intimacy that could develop. And I was like, yeah, this is the fundamental stuff that produced all the ceremonial and religious forms, shamanic forms, meditative forms. I'm like, this is the source of that. And then you stack all of these larger groupings, where in order to make the larger grouping happens, there's all these social structures that homogenize, standardize, okay, get in line, do this thing, which has allowed a certain level of coordination and scaling up of human relationship. But then how do we find the fundamental aliveness again? Like, how do we it's a different thing. It's a different thing to be in New York City,
right,
for example,
right,
where there's millions of people. I mean, even here in Durham, right, where there's hundreds of thousands of people. To really think about that, like, I don't think we figured out yet how to be with hundreds of thousands, if not millions of others, and have our aliveness and therefore our vulnerability in relationship.
Yeah. And then often, and if we go back in history, that fundamental aliveness was often kind of, then there was a moral put on it, or you need to function somehow, and that functioning often is against our natural life energies. But there's also fundamental mistrust, thinking that when we feel our aliveness, we would become irresponsible.
Yeah.
Right. And so in some way, because there's also this layer of armoring, of protection, that often is also a response to actually societal expectations, even in the core family and from there out. A lot of people, and us have lost that connection to that core. No, and then there are in between, and society doesn't trust that. So strengthening the core again and feeling that aliveness, I hope, that's also the greater perspective for me. I hope some healing in the greater society can happen too, or some that we can live with each other more out
Yeah.
out of the core, of our um, shared existence,
Mhm.
where we're enemies to each other.
But I think that's a developmental
Mm.
achievement, right? That I'm like, because I think there's a way of thinking about this as in like, we have this core aliveness that if it was just allowed to do its thing, all would be well.
Right.
And then there's these societal things that impose this stuff on top of us. And I think there's a more complex story that it's like, well, the
Mhm.
societal things are I mean, there are things that go real wrong that really are
Yeah,
about trying to
yeah,
dominate
yes.
and control
Yeah.
people. But I think it comes out of that same fundamental
Mhm.
aliveness and attempt to figure out how do we do this. And
Uh,
so we mold and reshape ourselves, sometimes twist ourselves, because we're
Mm-hmm.
trying to figure out how to do this cooperation, coordination thing.
mhm.
Um, and so I really resonate with the like, I don't think we can. Hmm. To use some Buddhist terms, it's like I don't think we can find the appropriate forms
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that respond to circumstances without connection to the emptiness, like without connection to the unformed.
Mm-hmm.
And
mm,
and I don't think I'm not interested in
yeah,
just living in the unformed. I'm like, it's the play with
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
all those things,
Mm-hmm.
constantly allowing new forms to arise, new communication to arise from that
mhm,
aliveness that's trying to speak to, respond to the challenges that we're facing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and
Mm-hmm.
so I really felt the armoring my own and in the group almost like itself a form of communication back to
Yes.
us
Yes. Absolutely.
yes,
about
yes, yes,
the ways that
yeah,
aliveness is trying to find its way through.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
the other
yeah,
piece that I want to just weave in here, Lola. I mean, that as you were exploring all of that, I think what comes up for me, and I'm not exactly sure what you were putting in the formless and unformed, or the formed and unformed ends of the
Hmm.
spectrum and movement, but there's a poignancy and a pointedness to
mm,
being in the feeling of the
yeah,
question
yeah,
Hmm.
of what do we, big we, be. I don't
mm,
begin to have an
yeah,
idea. I agree with you. It's not just a one by one by one, it'll all add up and work. I mean, but it's
mhm,
really allowing the magnitude of that question of
yeah,
what is the collective and individual armoring and its expressions showing us about the flow, longing, direction of aliveness, and how do we really allow ourselves to let
yeah,
that
Hmm.
move through for the
Hmm.
sake of discovering temporary forms as
Yeah.
expressions of other ways of being.
And
mhm, mhm,
spontaneously, right? I feel like that's
Yes,
such a
yes,
part of the
yeah,
yes,
beauty.
yeah.
Um, uh, yeah, in conversations with EG people, there's this fundamental okayness that I think is
Mm-hmm,
related to the aliveness that we're talking about
mm-hmm,
that's there. And then there's the spontaneous, self-accomplishing, uh, appropriate action that arises on its own by being in the question that you were talking about,
yes,
by being
yeah,
in the okayness and in the communication and in the
yes.
relationship. New, it's like you were
And
saying,
the
Lydia.
longing,
Yeah,
all the emotion, right? Yeah, all of
yeah,
that.
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
And that it surprises us, right? Like you were
Mm-hmm,
saying,
yes.
Lydia, you were like, I went into this session, I was like, I'm gonna breathe, nothing's gonna happen. Um,
yeah,
and these uh I don't know. I want to invite your stuff, Alta, about the unconscious in here.
Mm,
Um
um,
uh One of the things I've appreciated about the Reichian piece and the Skan piece is like it's actually not essential for us to understand or be consciously aware of the things that are moving. Like there's so much in there. And at least for me, I feel like a lot of my training was like, well, the way we're going to get to where we want to go and for things to be okay is for us to understand what is happening and then what to do versus being like this and this actually has wisdom intelligence beyond what we will ever capture within forms.
Yeah, it was
And we
just
can just drop into it.
our mind, right? It was just figuring it out, you know. Yeah. There's one fundamental thing in Skan is also, you know, yes, you know, there are certain things, you know, there's a line of energy that moves down in our body as we incarnate into this vehicle, you know, that we have, that is us. And then there is this radiation, you know, and the connection. Um, and so in some way there's also a mystery. How does it really work? We don't know. You know, being, being with that mystery and that delight that comes with that, or the challenges and you know, the not knowing, but nevertheless being connected, you know, and that allows in some way such a freedom, and allowing oneself to be surprised and oh, I didn't expect that, right? Wonderful, I didn't expect that, but here it is. And then also what you mentioned, Alta, the longing. Um, um, this phrase in Skan is like the work begins when the longing becomes greater than the fear.
Yes.
In a
Yes.
way, you know, it's just a tiny little 1% with some longing, you know, and then we can face a big fear in that, you
Yes.
know, not that,
Yes. And I guess I am so longing
yeah,
for more exploration of our collective longing
yeah,
that's bigger than
yeah,
our shared fear.
yeah, yeah, you know, and yeah, it's just I wanna it just comes up, you know, Reich sometimes you know, he sometimes talked about the human animal. You know, that, you know, our life forces are not different than in nature itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one thing he described the amoeba,
Mm.
and he said, well, the amoeba is this kind of pulsating one cell, and it has this little, you know, the cell is very fluid. And when it gets attracted to something, it might be food or so, you know, a little particle, it extends it, you know, and then it goes this, and then it goes here, and it follows basically the attraction, you know, where it's attracted to. If you poke it, it goes
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right, and the fluidity stops for a while, you know, and but then it gets, you know, it recovers and it goes into this fluid state. If you poke it multiple times, it will not gain its full fluidity back. You know, if you so will, that the movement of the longing got
Yeah. Yeah.
you know goes like, oh, you know, I have to be careful here. And in some way, our bodies are similar to that, and what our orientation also in Skan is to get as much of that fluidity back, that more and more of our longing and of our inner cellular movements can connect with other cellular systems. Yeah,
I
yeah.
had my first martial arts teacher, Sifu Kenny,
Uh-huh.
used to say this thing where he said, when you start training, you experience everyone as a threat. Like before you have skill, everyone is experienced as a threat. But then as your skill increases, fewer and fewer people you experience as a threat. And that really connected to me to a piece, one of the currents in the generative somatics and the Strozzi lineage is Aikido. And in Aikido, there's a aspiration toward nonviolence. And one of the understandings is nonviolence is an achievement, not just a moral stance. So that if you do not have the skill and someone is directing violence towards you, you might not be the person engaging in violence, but violence is still present. You don't have the skill to harmonize and transform that violence. And then at a second level of skill, you can stop being the receiver of violence, but you need to use violence in order to stop the other person. And that the highest aspiration is to have enough skill to protect yourself and to protect the person who is using violence, and like being able to harmonize all of that. And I connect this because when you're talking about the core and that sense of fundamental trust and that amoeba piece, what I'm really feeling is this piece with Dzogchen and Buddhism, this sense of being able to remain in the natural state. And it's there already, but these pokes, these, I mean, I won't even call them pokes. I'll catastrophes really do happen.
Yeah.
And we lose confidence. We lose trust that our aliveness can find a response. And it may have been that not just our individual aliveness, but the community and the collective we were a part of had not developed the skillfulness of finding the natural state and the spontaneous response that would resolve the violence or the catastrophe that we were experiencing. And so it feels really the case to me that doing Skan together, there's just this sense of, there's these strong energies that move through, and it seems to me, my experience has been, as I gain familiarity with them, you're saying the longing is greater than the fear. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be with this experience and be with it more and more and more, such that I have a sense of faith or confidence that I can allow it to run its course, allow it to do its thing. Then the poking, the disruptions, the aggressions, the violence cease to be interruptions in the experience of aliveness. I think that's what I'm really pointing to, that it seems possible for us to individually and collectively get so familiar with that core aliveness that even when tremendous disruptions occur, we don't lose connection to it. And we can actually find beautiful, skillful responses to them. That seems to me to be the aspiration.
In that sense, we get a greater flexibility, and we can contain, or we can conduct it, not contain, but conduct it. We can conduct that life force and don't sacrifice it for, that's,
And what does it look like to do that individually and then in groups, right? Like to feel the aliveness that's moving in a group, and to have the familiarity to be able to be with it until it's able to spontaneously kind of bring forward a solution to its own challenges. Yeah, there we go. Are there other pieces? We've covered some good territory. Are there other things that are just on your heart, Lydia, that you're like, I also really want to touch into this?
I mean, there's a lot one can talk about. But I have the feeling for today that's kind of you know, it feels complete in itself, you know, and maybe it leaves room for another conversation, you know, there we might have and pick themes, you know, that are related to this work and life and your experiences, you know.
Lovely.
Mhm. Lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.